But then I got some things that were a little nicer.
This is the good stuff.
Hi, I'm Dave, owner of Future Past Vintage Collectibles with my daughter Rachel.
Hello.
Talking comic books as we do every week.
Yep.
We have a lot going on right now.
We do.
Yeah.
We have a live sale coming up on Monday. If you don't know, we do live sales every single Monday over on Instagram from 5 to 7 Pacific Standard Time. What books are we showing? Are we showing some good ones this week?
Well, yeah. Here's a couple, just an example. We do it a little different. I try to put the highest grade things I can in raw. I think people are really liking the opportunity to get books cheaper if they can trust the grade.
Yes.
Right? Show.
Oh, yeah. Here's a couple. These are some Near Mint, Near Mint Plus.
Near Mint. This is Near Mint Plus.
Yeah, they look so good.
A couple more, too. Near Mint.
Look at him.
Near Mint. These two cool covers. Both Near Mint. Wolverine 8. Joe Fix-It. Near Mint.
Looking good.
Tons of stuff. This isn't even the best stuff. We have tons of stuff. So we've been having a blast. We actually sold out last week.
We did. We had a hard time filling up the 2 hours. Also, anything that we don't sell in our live sales ends up on our eBay store. So if you're not following us on eBay, definitely go check us out over there because we don't promote the listings. So they're just kind of in there.
If you guys are following us, following our store, we do sales just for that group.
Yep.
So you got to be on the know.
If you miss a live sale, then all the stuff goes over there that we don't sell. So there you go.
So I picked up some books this week, real quick. All raw stuff.
These are really cool.
Somebody on this channel had asked if I had a copy of US 1. I said no, but I'll pick one up. So I have one, and it looks pretty high grade. Haven't got it out and checked it out yet, but I'd never heard of it. So when I got it, I'm like, this is pretty cool.
Trucking down the highway.
I love hearing about books that I've never had before or not familiar with. Got a ton of Firestorms.
Big Firestorm fans.
Yep, got a ton of Firestorm. I'm always picking these up when I can. I really like this last cover, right? That's pretty sick. And then there were some John Sables. I didn't know how many I had in this first run, so I just picked up a bunch of these in a little auction. Some of them are in pretty high grade. Some of them are not.
We showed the second series. This is the first series.
Yeah. So now it's the completist in me that just wants to get them all. But then I got some things that were a little nicer.
This is the good stuff.
So I don't even know where to start. Let's start with this. This is Red Circle Sorcery. Been looking for this book in this grade. This is just immaculate. I'm super happy to get that.
Look at that red. It just pops.
And now I have an undercopy I think I'm going to sell at our live sale on Monday.
Oh, there you go.
Never see this book in this grade. I got a copy of Madhouse number 95 from Red Circle Comics. Look at that sick cover. So, yeah, when I see something like this, and these were not cheap. I'm just here to tell you. Twisted number 2. If you don't have a copy of this, you should. Bernie Wrightson cover. Rachel saw it for the first time. She goes, oh, what is that, heads?
I know.
It's a fantastic cover.
We just showed the number 1 recently that we got at a convention, so it's nice to...
Very 70s horror movie, like see a guy running out of the forest.
Oh, yeah, slasher film for sure.
Yeah. I got another Bernie Wrightson Kong number 1. I've had a lot of copies of this. I've had several 9/8s, and this one this one will need to get pressed to get there, but it's got really good qualities. Beautiful. I love that burnt orange cover. And then last, Sorcery number 4.
So cool.
Love it.
Nice.
So super happy to put those away. One day maybe I'll sell them, but it ain't gonna be soon.
Got to look at them for a while first.
One thing I've had to do is change the way I sell. I sent in about 170 slabs to Comic Link, and they actually sat on them for almost 4 months. They didn't even put them in the system. About lost my mind. So I sent them all these books. I want to talk about some of the prices I did get whenever they sold, and it's not their fault. It really is probably not the best format for that. And I'm going to start exploring some other auction houses because I still haven't even made enough money back. And the books are really coming in, on an average 30-40% less than GPA across the board in a blended rate. But I want to get specific about some of these because it's fascinating. I think a lot of people are experiencing that they're kind of reverting back to wanting to buy raw books. You have some questions when you do that, like, is it the grade I want? Is something wrong with it? Is it restored? It can be all these different things depending on what era. I'm not that great at grading maybe, and I'm going to miss something. That's one of the downsides. One of the upsides is obviously they're going to be cheaper. Getting everything slabbed, not a good idea. It's just not. In the last year, up till about 6 months ago, the grading kind of changed a little bit, and they had some new staff. We weren't getting grades like we had in the past at all. Part of that's on me. I think I get this subjectiveness from pressing and cleaning comic books that is hard to shake sometimes because I see a book for its potential.
Which is not a good way to go.
And it's like, I know how to
pressing.
grade because I was grading books way before I knew about pressing.
Because I'll grade something and you're like, oh, I'm not even counting that as a flaw because I'm going to fix that.
But it's a mental thing I'm overcoming now. But that's why it's great to have Rachel on the backside who does not press comics and is always looking for the smallest item. You know when you're holding an 8.5 compared to a 9.2, just by the way it presents, the amount of wear there, the amount of color break. So if you grade thousands and thousands of comics in the search of like wanting to slab them to be perfect at that grade, because most people are like, oh, within a half a grade. That dog don't hunt. I'm going to show you a bunch of examples of what a half a grade will do you. Let's do that right now.
As far as value goes.
And before we even get into this, let's talk about the cost of CGC. And I'm not talking about the price increases, which I don't have a beef with. I want to talk just about the business model of getting things graded professionally that are high-grade books to make the price secure in the market of resale. So,
and I also feel like there's like a weird misconception when people buy slabs as to like how low someone will go to sell it, considering how much it costs to slab, which I guess you'll see in a second when we break down the cost.
Who doesn't love picking up a book that they want and for less than it costs to slab it? Like, you could not recreate that on your own. You'd have to find it at a garage sale or swap meet or, in the garbage.
In the garbage. And again, the prices we have written down are not with the new price increases that just happened. So keep that in mind. It's more than it is listed.
There's lots of channels that want to beef about that. If you want to really know about it, go watch any other comic channel. We're not talking about that.
Yeah.
And here we go.
So this is based off of our last submission that we did, which was in January, just for some perspective. So we submitted 12 modern books and 3 economy books, which is based on the age of the book. So this is the price breakdown for modern and economy. And it also includes the shipping to CGC, because that's out of our pocket. And it also includes the shipping back to us, which CGC is the people that charge us for the shipping back.
Yeah.
So a modern book, one modern book to ship it, get it slabbed, and get it sent back to us is $26 before we do anything else with it.
Yeah.
An economy,
that's without the book.
That's without the book. That you didn't buy the book yet. You just slabbed
no
it.
expense for the book. We're just talking about the case.
just getting it slabbed. An economy book, which is the Silver Age and before, is $53 to get it slabbed. And the reason why it's so high is because you also need to fast track it, which I think adds like $12.
You don't need to, but you save yourself 9 months to a year.
Yeah, if you want it back before a year from when you submit it, you want to fast track it. Yeah. So it adds an additional $12, which is why it's so much higher than a modern book. You don't really need to fast track modern books. They're pretty fast.
If you don't want to pay that much, you want to pay less. It's like locking a book up for a year is just never a good idea.
I guess unless it's for your PC, which at that point is fine. But like, we're CGC dealers, so we are trying to get them back as quickly as we can.
I've waited 17 months, I think is the longest.
Yeah, basically we waited so long that CGC had dropped off the order number from the website because it had been so long.
Well, they do that after 8 months.
Yeah,
so the problem is when you submit a lot of books, when things are dropping off after 8 months, you start losing track.
Yeah.
Because you're moving on, even though they are working
doing stuff
at some other pace.
For perspective, we have to make at least that much on a book to just break even from slabbing CGC as dealers.
So do you.
And so do you.
Yeah, you have to make that much money to break even for that expense.
Right.
Now, I'll tell you that if you're not a CGC authorized dealer and you're going through a comic book store and you're doing all that, the expense may even go up.
Yeah.
Because they're going to charge you for that service. We get 10% off, I think.
Yeah.
And in that 10% off, even in the few times I've submitted for people, I pass that forward. I don't make my money on that.
Right. Well, and I guess we should say too, that's with the discount included for us is the 10%. That's the price points that we talked about, which I didn't mention.
This is the discounted price.
This is our CGC dealer price. So it's even more.
So how much would that be if you're not a dealer? 29
and
60 to you. What it would cost
for just the person that isn't a CGC dealer on there. And again, it's higher now because the price increased. So it's expensive. It's an expensive hobby.
Well, okay. So what do you get? Now you have this encapsulated, beautiful comic book.
Here it is.
You got a comic. Well, this is an old
one.
Let's do a new case.
Or this one.
By the way.
Taskmaster.
Who doesn't love
Let's
Taskmaster?
do this one because everyone likes to talk about this book when it's on our wall.
All right, this is a new case. This case is pretty new. If you want your book in this, all the posts are done. Nice, tight, new case. It's got a number. People can look it up, see what the grader's notes are. If you want that, that does not guarantee that your comic book will make a profit. And sometimes just one grade or just two grades, let's say it's a 9.2 instead of a 9.6 or a 9.4 instead of a 9.8, makes it a complete loss. And a lot of people have learned that. I'm not telling a lot of people something new, but some of you may not know that. So let's go through some of these books, and we'll start with some of the ones that we'll say did not make case cost. Case cost is in order to put it in my case, right? That's what it costs before discount or before anything, right?
Right.
That's not including the book, and we're not even talking about book prices. All we're really comparing things to is like how much it costs to slab, and you'll see that
we sent a bunch of books to Comic Link to be auctioned, and these are the results of that auction.
No, now this was, I told you I had broke it in two groups. I told you they broke it into two groups.
Right.
And this was the first 50 or so.
Yeah.
And they kind of clumped together these books that, let's talk about the books.
Yes. So the first one up is Uncanny X-Men number 270. It was a 9.4 with white pages. Okay, so GPA on this book, a 9.4 sold in March of 2023 for $45.
Which is the month it sold in the auction as well. But interestingly, when you get up to 9.6 and 9.8, this book can get expensive in 9.8, not as much in 9.6. So this really needs to be a 9.8. And it came in much shorter than that. So how much do we sell that $43 book for?
We sold it for $13.
Yeah. Yep. And I had to ship it there, right? And I got to pay them 10%. So I really only made $11.70 on the sale, less whatever it cost to ship. So I lost, let's say I lost $20. Let's keep going.
All right, the next book was Web of Spider-Man number 1. It was a 9.2 with white pages. GPA shows that a 9.2 with white pages sold in March for $53. On Comic Link, it sold for $26.
50%. So that's 65 and 50% in those two books. Like I said, as I got to the aggregate, I had some books that did well, but here we go again, losing money on sending a book in. You can actually lose money. I think I'd have been better off selling this raw, which I probably could have done for $15 to $20, right? Instead of losing that much. So it's you got to look at the huge delta in between those things, between a loss and a gain.
Well, and on the other end, I'm sure the person that got that book is thrilled that they got it at that price point.
That's a really good point you're making. Here's what's interesting, right? So you think I scored. I'm sitting here, I don't have a big budget. I'm going to look for things that are next to nothing. Worst site to do that on is Heritage. They charge a minimum, I think, of $69. If you buy a book for $1, you got to pay them $58 or $68
premium or whatever
in their fee, right? So not here. It's 10% to me, not to you, but they do charge you $30 to ship one book. So all of a sudden you're paying double for shipping. It really doesn't make sense to buy one book, but you're still looking at, look, shipping costs $30. That's still less than the last one sold for. And if it's less than the last one sold for, you've got a pretty good deal. You know who's making the most money? The United States Postal Service on that movie.
So true.
They are moving that
They're
book
making some money
everywhere.
The next one was Uncanny X-Men 166. It was a 9.2 with white pages. It had sold in February of 2023 for $45. It sold in our Comic Link auction for $33.
Yeah, it's down 25%. That's not good. I mean, it's fine. At least it didn't sell for $11. I mean, it's fine. You see the trend here.
Yeah. Web of Spider-Man number 9, 9.6, white pages. GPA, April of 2023, it sold for $45. It sold on Comic Link for $12.
Yeah, 75% less than the last sale.
Again, what a bargain for that person.
It's a new slab, uncirculated. Book looked great.
And the 9.6 white pages isn't a bad grade for that book.
It wasn't off center. It wasn't jacked up. There was just a lack of interest and really probably a lack of people that were willing to commit to buy that book. I did notice, though, there were other books got exactly what they were supposed to get.
Which we'll talk about those too, or higher than what we expected.
And I never would have thought they wouldn't.
Right.
And it's like, in other words, I knew better. It's not their fault. You know what? You live and learn.
We're all learning lessons here. Here's
I
another
hate
one.
that. I hate.
You hate learning lessons?
Well, humility.
This is not a fun lesson to learn.
I'll tell you what, you cannot do this for a living without exercising a strong level of humility at all times.
Well, and if you've been following our channel for a while, we've changed so much on how we approach this business and this this community, I guess.
My main goals are being accomplished 100%, which is about Bronze Age, high grade. And I was thinking about it recently. I think that I liked dealing with Steve Johnson, who I talk about a lot,
Monterey
so much. I kind of wanted to do it like he did. And I'd buy books from him and drool over them. And what a great experience. And I would wait, he was the only guy I was getting things in the mail from. and my brother and I would talk every day. Did you get the package? Or we'd meet him and pick him up. But I liked that. It brought so much fun to the hobby for me, getting these fantastic books, some of which I've had for 30 years. I'm not explaining it well. It's the Monterey collection. It's just a known collection, not a pedigree, but this guy had immaculate comic books. And to this day, they're still immaculate. Mm-hmm. So anyway.
Let's look at some sad ones. Got a few more. Got just a few more of
Some
those.
sad.
We call it The Bad. This is Star Wars number 105. It was a 9.6, white pages. GPA on this. In March, it sold for $69. And in 2016, it had sold for $32. So you can see a trajectory. But this last month, we sold it on Comic Link for $32. We're back in 2016.
Yeah. It's pretty interesting, really.
I think it also kind of just tells a story, which is like people aren't wanting to spend money on slabs anymore.
Don't,
it's not right now.
Don't get a 9.6 of that graded.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
I'm sure
And we've known that for a while now, and that's why we think that they're going to go this way, and they changed the graders, and our returns were fantastic before we started the channel. They're fantastic. I was getting some huge boxes.
I think our first video is like a really good testament to what it was like before the graders changed.
It might have been the last time I got a
go
ball
back to
of...
our very first video.
Well, we have since then. I think we did an unboxing a few months ago where I think one book was one tick of a grade off.
Right.
We're very good at grading. It's just that, man, this whole do it in bulk thing, somebody could have 3,000 slabs, and you would think in your mind, like, if you have 3,000 slabs, they're worth at least what the slab. No, they are not. Carry on, my Rachel.
So this is New Teen Titans number 9. It was a 9.4 white pages. It's the second appearance of Deathstroke.
You sure about that?
It doesn't say it on the slab. We're going to say something to CGC about it because that's a significant second appearance.
It didn't say anything in Comic Link. I don't know how significant it is. Where's my boy? But it's funny. This book's not cheap. New Teen Titans number 2, first appearance. His second appearance, Deadpool, it has the same thing. Deadpool's second appearance is in X-Force number 2, and such a popular character, that book does nothing. This is older. You would think that, I don't know, it would do something. Anyway.
Well, so the GPA data was interesting on this one. In 2020, it sold for $17. A 9.2 sold for $29 in 2022, and an 8.5 sold in March of 2023 for $44. So, like, clearly the price is going up on lower grades. And this was a 9.4 white pages. It sold on Comic Link in the last month for $12.
Here's the deal, and I used to say this a lot when we were getting slabs back. This has to be a 9.8.
Right.
Or it's not worth it.
That's
why, here's the predicament. I got a 9.4. Should I crack and resubmit? I'm starting to outprice the book. Just in slabbing fees. Don't price and resubmit. Should I crack it?
And just sell it raw?
See if I need to press and clean it and sell it raw?
Yeah.
Well, what if I make more in a slab? So you're in this gray area, like, which way do I go? And don't do this.
No, it really only makes sense to slab something when you're not sure.
If you crack this book, you could probably sell it $15.
Yeah. But if you're not sure if it's going to get a 9.2 or a 9.4, you need to slab it if the 9.2 gets like $300 and a 9.4 gets $5. Like, that's like the kind of like... I feel like that's like the numbers we need whenever we're slabbing right now.
A lot of people will do things like this, and I agree with this. Like, I don't slab anything that has a value of under $150. Mm-hmm. When you're dealing with Copper Age books or Modern Age books, the difference between 9.6 and 9.8, if it's going to be a 9.8, it gets 150. If it gets a 9.6, it's 30. Literally. There's all these huge 7x, 8x multipliers between 9.6 and 9.8.
All right, here's another Web of Spider-Man. This was a 9.8, number 3, Web of Spider-Man, 9.8, white pages. It sold in January of 2023 for $50 on GPA. It sold on Comic Link in the last month for $31.
Yeah.
Our book. Love it.
So at least we got case price back. I mean, unless I fast tracked them, because there was a period of time that it was taking them a long time. So if I fast tracked this, I lost money.
Yeah, because that usually adds about $12 to the
Yeah.
slab price, which we don't fast track modern books anymore.
So it's nice to get some of these issues that are kind of common, but everyone doesn't have them. When I mean common, you always see them. You see them all over the place. Maybe not 9/8, but who cares? Well, a completist cares.
Yeah.
So if you want everything in 9/8, then you go buy the slab.
And those might be the people buying these for $30. They're like,
Yeah.
finally, I get this book in 9/8 for nothing.
or on the off chance that I'll buy this and one day I'll sell it for 300. That dog don't hunt.
Especially with Web Spider-Man. Sorry, but that's never going to happen.
Yeah, Web is
Never
not
gonna
the
happen.
Spider-Man series to focus on. I'm just saying.
We learned that the hard way. Okay, Captain America, number 195. This is also a 9/8. Off-white white pages, though, so it's not white pages. GPA on this book, it sold in September of 2022 for $295. We sold it on Comic Link in the last month for $241.
So in 6 months, it went down 35%. This is these are signs of a market that's unstable. Typically, books like this should increase slowly and be able to hold that value. The comic boom, for as exciting as it was for some people selling books, or people getting things that they really wanted, the problem is this is the result, is that people are doubting what books they want to hold anymore. They lost so much money on different comic books, or they're holding books they paid 2, 3, 4 times more than they're worth, that it's soured the market, in my opinion. So, yeah.
I should say this too, because we haven't mentioned this, but all of the books that we sell on Comic Link are unreported, so they don't go into GPA.
Right.
So you'll not see any of these sales anywhere.
You won't find this on your cover price,
Right.
or any site you're looking at.
Which I think is another problem, because it kind of, it doesn't give us a very good idea of what those sales look like.
It's not a problem for them.
No.
So if I was going to buy a comic book for $11, I
Yeah.
want to do it on Comic Link because it's a double win. Because if the last one sold for $35, I just bought a $35 comic book for $11. Oh, you don't believe me? Let's look at the last sale. $35.
Right.
The 11 doesn't show up.
It's not
yeah.
great for people who buy comics, online on eBay or something like that. They're not going to have a good idea of what that book is selling for out in the world if it's not recorded. There's I think pros and cons to it being not recorded.
There is. I mean, it's just something that you add to your arsenal of information as a collector, like understanding the difference and watching some of these auctions once in a while that are not reported. And there's others, to kind of see what the open market is doing instead of this recorded market that
Right.
we all get to know what something sold for.
Right. I just wanted to throw that out there because we hadn't mentioned it. Okay, here's the last bad one. Daredevil number 168. It was a 9/4 white pages. GPA on this book, it had sold in the last month for $476, and we sold it on Comic Link for $425.
Nice copy. Pretty fascinating that book continues to go down because it was over 500.
Mm-hmm.
This book's old enough that it should have some sustainability, but what happens is the market's trying to find itself, if you ask me.
Yeah.
So it's going to bounce around, and then when supply and demand hits that axis where all of a sudden there's enough supply that demand starts to increase because the prices are low enough. Because books like this, if the price got to 300, you might have tons of people that are now a buyer.
Right, because they're like, oh, I've never seen it that low, and now I can get one. I can afford one. Whatever.
And that's what drives markets. So all of a sudden you got buyers, one sells for $10 more, and you start to build that price back up naturally.
Yeah.
If you have a lot of investors or something buying something, it could make it look like the market's hotter than it is because they only buy that. They don't buy all this. They just buy that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So here's another one to keep your eye on, and that's a Marvel Spotlight 5. It's going down. So the record of $250,000 for a 9/8, I think in 2021, is still $250 because you can watch that price just continue to go down. Is that good news? It is for me, man. I want one. Here's the deal. I think if you are a collector, you can put my selling comics aside because I get it on every level. You got to sell what's hot when it's hot. And when a book's going down, it gets to a point you want to buy. And then you feel like you're playing the stock market because should I wait? Should I get it? It went down 10%. Then you buy it and it goes down 30 more percent. We did a video about that.
I'll link that right here. You can watch it. It's a sad one.
It was, yeah, I lost thousands of dollars on a couple of books that were just
That
bad
FOMO,
decisions.
man. FOMO.
My bad decisions are here to entertain and educate you.
To make sure you don't make those same decisions. Okay. This is a right on the money book. This one, we made exactly what we expected to make on this one. It's Planet of Vampires #1. It was a 9.6. I think it was white pages. I didn't write it down. But GPA on this book was $150, and we sold it for $156 on Comic Link. So we were pretty happy with that one. It did what we expected it to do.
Well, I sold the #2 that came in 9.8. This was just a tick away from 9.8 too.
It was.
I love this book. I've had a few, so I'm not as enamored with it anymore. But I like the Neil Adams covers on 1 and 2 a lot. Yeah, did fine.
Yeah,
it did
we
what
were
I
happy with
expected.
that one.
And we have a bunch of other ones that also did what we expected. We didn't go over everything. We're just kind of showing a sample of both.
Yeah, it was like 170 books that we sent. So here are the ones that we were like, yay! We call these the good ones. So Phantom Stranger #29. It was a 9.4 white pages. GPA was interesting on this one. It hadn't sold since 2017 at 9.4, and it sold for $67. A 9.6 had sold for $76 in February of this year. And so we really didn't know what it was going to sell for whenever we sent it
I had
out.
a pretty
like,
good
you
idea.
had an idea.
I had an idea because I understand these books. So.
Right. Well, and we expected it to be more than $76, even though it was a 9.4. And it was. It sold for $211 on Comic Link. So we were really happy about that one.
It got what I expected. I thought it would get between $2 and $250. And it's a good sign because those are kind of hard to get in 9.4.
Mm-hmm.
These in 9.6 are almost impossible to get. And as you get into white pages and stuff on these types of books, even harder. So this is the stuff I like to collect because it's really hard to find high grade.
Those horror books, man. We love
You are
those.
not going to like, hey, I heard about this book. I'm going to look it up and see if there's a 9.6. Good luck. In 2 years, one might pop up on some obscure auction house that your friend's cousin told them about. It's so funny though. I tell you, there's other books I couldn't get and I haven't seen in a couple of years.
Mm-hmm. Again, those are the kind of books that you have like on some list and you get an email when they're listed and everyone.
I have a couple
dives
we'll
at it.
show. I don't want to show horror books every single episode because I know some of you love it. Some of you don't care. I have some horror DC stuff that never comes up. Here's a perfect example of that. This live show we're doing on Monday, I pulled out some books that I want to sell and had a stack that I was going to send to CGC. I'm like, well, we'll just move it. Wait a minute. I started to go through like, not this one. I still want to get the slab piece.
I mean, we showed in our last video a bunch of books we wanted to send. And whenever we're going through them, we changed our mind.
So like that one is in near mint. 9.4. And here's the question. And I deal with this all the time. Can I replace that in 9.4? I haven't seen that in 9.4 in a long, long time.
I'll throw up the census right here of what is slabbed.
And come on, you guys. Bernie writes some goodness. This thing's dripping with it. I love this cover. Sure, if I got a 9.4 or 9.6, I would buy a second one, actually. But anyway, try to find that in 9.4. Or this in 9.4. So this one in 9.6 is really difficult. 9.4 is still hard and very expensive. So because I do have both of these in near mint, I'm not selling these. Only because they're not easy to replace, and that's why I collect them, is because getting a pristine copy of Bernie Wrightson art, Neil Adams art from this era, please.
Not to mention it's House of Mystery, which is...
Yeah, this is my favorite series, Anyway, it's actually not my favorite series, but it's up there.
Speaking of House of Mystery, this is the last book that we're going to talk about today from our Comic Link auction. This is House of Mystery #202. It was a 9.8. So this was an Oakland pedigree. And GPA, just like a standard 9.8, sold for $650 in 2018, but an actual Oakland pedigree had sold in November of 2014 for $478. So we had like some kind of idea of how much it would get, expecting more than both of those amounts.
Yep.
And we sold it for $950.
I knew, this was a different one. I thought it could get anywhere between $900 and $1,200, but the Oakland pedigree helped it here. The reason is because it's a Kaluta cover. It's not Wrightson. It's not Adams. Oh, for instance, if this was in 9.8, I would not be surprised if this book got between $2,500 and $3,000.
Because they just don't exist.
Because I'd have to write that check. If you got a 9.8, you just heard I have an offer for you.
There it is.
White pages only and well-centered.
Even a 9.6.
Or else it's negotiable.
Yeah. That's so funny. But yeah, those are the books that we wanted to talk about today from the Comic Link auction.
What's the moral of this story? I'm just telling you that if you can find cheap slabs, I just showed you a bunch of really cheap slabs. Be wary of other expenses. Sometimes all that glitters is not gold. You think you just, hey, I bought 4 slabs, didn't pay more than $15 for them. You get the bill and it's $165. So sometimes they'll even charge you shipping individually because you bought it in 2 different auctions and you closed at different times. So there's a lot of expenses that people don't know about.
Well,
but if played right and you work the system to your benefit, like, well, I'm going to buy at least 5 and get them all shipped together, so I save money, a lot of money when you ship together. And I'm going to do it all in the same auction. And if I buy anything else in the next auction, if I buy one, I got to buy a couple more to make it worth it. Whatever.
Well, and if you're someone who slabs your books for an investment, don't slab them if they are if they're below an investment grade, because you'll lose money most likely if you try to sell them later.
So I have one question for everyone. If you were just sitting in your living room, minding your own business, watching the television, these guys, you turn around and saw those faces? I mean, what would you do?
He really likes that one. We actually showed this when he got it originally. So.
Yeah, but now it's all dressed up for the ball.
It's ready.
And I'm keeping it. And by the way, I'm not even slabbing it.
Oh, you're not going to slab it?
I'm not going to slab either one of these.
That's news to me.
I'll keep them raw.
Well, there you go. Well, I think that's all we had to talk about today. Again, follow us over on Instagram where we do our live sales every Monday from 5 to 7 p.m. Pacific Standard. It's linked down below. Follow us on eBay too because we've got lots of discounts over there. We really appreciate you guys. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe too because that helps the channel. And we can't wait to see what you guys have to say about this video.
Bye.